Lastly, the clinical and applied anatomy of medulla oblongata. This is also very important because in your professional exams, whenever a question comes upon on this cranial nerves, and nowadays even you have a special one question on clinical anatomy. So you have to learn, go through these clinical portion of each nerves, especially even for your MCQ purpose. So let's study about the clinical and applied anatomy of the medulla oblongata. Okay, so not much is there because you have been taught all in detail about the internal structure of the medulla oblongata, and what remains was actually here is about, let me tell you about the blood supply of medulla oblongata. So if you remember again, similarly, it's an ascending portion of the spinal cord, right? So spinal cord ascends up, as I told you, that junction is of medulla and spinal cord is from the spinal segment of C1 spinal nerve, where it terminates the upper portion of C1 spinal segment. From there above, it's this medulla, and it's this lower portion of the medulla that crosses this foramen magnum. So the blood supply, you've been taught about the blood supply of spinal cord, right? If you remember, there was a median anterior longitudinal fissure, and that was lodging which artery? The anterior spinal artery. And I told you that it was supplying the anterior 2/3 of the spinal cord. The main dominant blood supply of spinal cord is anterior spinal artery. However, in the posterolateral sulcus, there were paired arteries, and that was posterior spinal artery, and that was supplying the posterior 1/3 of the spinal cord. Remember that? Same here now, because in this medulla, remember, this anterior spinal artery still continues down here. There's an anterior spinal artery which supplies the anterior actually here, what the difference now is here, because on the dorsal aspect you have the fourth ventricle, right? So being a fourth ventricle, there is no direct supply to this portion. Important point है, because posterior spinal arteries की जो position है, that will be occupied by now inferior cerebellar artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Remember, the blood supply is still 3 in the spinal cord. You learn about there's anterior spinal artery and 2 posterior spinal artery. The anterior spinal artery was covering supply of the anterior 2/3 of the spinal cord. Posterior spinal artery covers only the posterior 1/3 of the spinal cord. Now here in the medulla, this is the anterior spinal artery here, anteriorly placed in the medial fissure, and this will supply. Now important thing is because the posterior spinal artery is same as here, they will be replaced. The posterior spinal artery will be replaced by posterior inferior cerebellar artery, and these are branches of the vertebral arteries. Okay. Now look here, this important point is because you don't have a blood supply direct because of the fourth ventricle down here. So the anterior spinal artery will supply the entire thickness of the medulla in the median portion. So the medial portion of the medulla in its entire depth, right, till the floor of the fourth ventricle. So this artery cover, because you don't have an additional supply from there. So this anterior spinal artery perfuses the entire thickness of the medial portion of the medulla. Very important point. And what structures that it perfuses is, of course, the pyramids, the arcuate nucleus, the medial lemniscus, the tectospinal tract, the medial longitudinal bundle, and the medial most functional column, that is general somatic efferent, the nucleus of hypoglossal nerve. So all this is being by the blood found if this artery undergoes ischemia, blockage, or aneurysm, or rupture, or a hemorrhage, or any sort of damage to the anterior spinal artery. What will happen? This portion undergoes, ischemia, and there will be changes accordingly, right? Now, this is called lesion of the medulla oblongata. If this is because of anterior spinal artery, now this lesion is called medial medullary syndrome. Medial medullary syndrome, okay? And medial medullary syndrome is also called degenerative syndrome. ठीक है, Dejerine syndrome. So Dejerine syndrome is actually medial medullary syndrome. Clear है? इतनी बातें clear हो गई. Now you will talk about what are the consequences. Think about one by one. If pyramids here, this is the corticonuclear fibers. If these are damaged, what will happen? Because these are descending fibers. They have yet not decussated, because decussated will happen down below in the lower portion of the medulla. So this means they haven't decussated, and if it at this level there is necrosis, so the entire lower half of entire opposite half, it actually क्या होता है ना, anterior वाला is considered negligible when we're talking about 80% fibers which had to decussate. So it said because of this pyramidal injury, there will be hemiparalysis of the opposite or the contralateral half of the body. ठीक है, contralateral hemiplegia, one thing. Then if there is damage or lesion of this medial lemniscus, right? So these are ascending fibers and they have already decussated at what level? At the mid of the medulla. So that means these fibers are coming from here at the mid of the medulla. They have decussated, forming an internal arcuate fibers, and now they're ascending up like this. So if it's damaged here, what happens? The sensations on the opposite half of the body will not ascend up, right? So there will be sensory loss on the opposite half of the body. So both hemiplegia and sensory deficit on the opposite half of the body. These are two important features of medial medullary syndrome. Then, because of this injury to this hypoglossal nerve nucleus, remember, from this nucleus, these are the lower motor neurons, and lower motor neurons supply the ipsilateral half of the tongue. So there will be ipsilateral paralysis of the tongue, muscles of the tongue, and there were 7 muscles which were innervated by the tongue on the same side, including genioglossus of the same side. Remember, because whatever was happening about genioglossus was happening, contralateral supply of genioglossus, that was all related to the upper motor neurons, right? So when you talk about the lower motor neurons, you don't have to think much. It's right there from the same, it supplies the same side nucleus. Muscles of the same side. So that means ultimately what you'll conclude it in Dejerine syndromes. Dejerine syndrome में contralateral hemiplegia, contralateral loss of sensations, and ipsilateral loss of paralysis of the tongue. So tip of the tongue will deviate in which? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Up till now, you have been listening about this Dejerine syndromes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then it's good, because it somehow got disconnected, I think, from here. Then it's good. So have you got understood about Dejerine syndrome?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we will talk about the lateral medullary syndrome. Let me tell you, there were NEET PG questions based on this in your January 2020 exam. So now we'll talk about this lateral medullary syndrome. Now lateral medullary syndrome means what? Posterior inferior cerebellar artery, right? यहाँ पे जो spinal cord का जो supply था उससे थोड़ा सा change हुआ है. Although you have the 3 main arteries, one is the anterior spinal artery, and the 2 sides, instead of posterior spinal, you have posterior inferior cerebellar artery. But the pattern of distribution has changed. There it was in the spinal cord, anterior 2/3 by anterior spinal and posterior 1/3 by posterior spinals, right? Here what is happening, anterior spinal covers medial full thickness of the medulla, while posterior inferior cerebellar artery covers the lateral 2/3 of the medulla, right? As well as don't forget that posterior inferior cerebellar artery perfuses the lower portion of the cerebellum also. And it's a branch from it's the longest or the largest branch of vertebral artery. An important point of the posterior inferior cerebellar artery is that it is having a tortuous course. If you have you must have made a list of the tortuous arteries. They were questions formed in your MCQs. So posterior inferior cerebellar artery has also a tortuous course. And why is this tortuous course? Because there is no distendable organ within the cranium at this point. And why there is the need of tortuosity in this posterior inferior cerebellar artery? So remember that the tortuosity of an artery not only is required for a distension of an organ, like, splenic artery. Why was tortuous? Because of the distension of the stomach. It lies behind the stomach. Then you have uterine artery because of the distension of the bladder of this uterus. Facial artery. Why was having a tortuous course? Because of the movement of the mandible. Or why was lingual artery having a tortuous course? Because of the movement of the mandible as well as the movement of the tongue. So that's why you always have to have a reason for the tortuosity, So why is this posterior inferior cerebellar artery having a tortuous course, although it's an intracranial artery? The reason is the other factor which requires is tortuosity is, like, you can imagine if you are, gardening, watering the plants with the rubber tube, right? With the rubber tube, you're watering the plants in the garden, and if the tube is from the tap, it's placed straight, the force of water coming out will be at a great please unmute yourself. So the greatest strength, the volume, the water will come out. But if that same rubber tube is coiled and placed in a coiled manner, the strength or a pressure of volume with which it ejects will be less. So because of the tortuosity here, it's meant to decrease the amount of force with which the blood is being coming through this vertebral artery, right? So because vertebral artery, right, is from branch of subclavian, right? And subclavian is branch of arch aorta, So that's why it has enough pressure of blood in the vertebral arteries. So to reduce the amount of pressure, because nervous tissue is really very soft tissue, it should not be bathed with enough pressure of blood. So to decrease the amount of pressure of the blood, this posterior inferior cerebellar artery has a very tortuous course, and it supplies lateral 2/3 of the medulla as well as the inferior portion of the cerebellum. Now look here. Now this portion, if this artery undergoes necrosis, is going thrombosis, it goes hemorrhage, whatever might be the reason, if this perfusion is blocked, that leads to lateral medullary syndrome, and that is called Wallenberg syndrome. There was a question regarding this. Wallenberg syndrome, we need PG में आ चुका है. So Wallenberg syndrome में क्या होगा? बहुत आसान से, if you have studied about all these structures here, you can easily guess the symptoms. One thing is that important structure underlying is inferior olivary nucleus, right? As well as you have this, olivary nucleus as well as spinocerebellar tracts. These are reaching to the cerebellum, right? So this is reaching to the same side, this one, dorsal spinocerebellar, and this reaches to the opposite side. So ultimately it's meant for your balancing and equilibrium, and that if it gets disturbed, what it is called? It's called ataxia, right? The simple words may you can say it is ataxia of the same side. Actually, main functional column is main function is of balancing is through lower limbs. I told you both these columns, ventral and dorsal spinocerebellar tract, actually is meant to maintain your posture and equilibrium in your unconscious state. So unconscious proprioceptive sensations from the lower limb are being carried through spinocerebellar tract, and they reach to the same cerebellum, ipsilateral. So that means there will be ataxia on the ipsilateral side. Point number 1. Okay. The next thing you see is this nucleus. Now this is lateral spinothalamic tract, right? Lateral spinothalamic tract is here, and this was ascending a tract, and it was carrying pain temperature fibers from the opposite half. Remember, I told you one thing very important is that if it's talked about ascending or descending tracts, and if it's asked which tract decussates to the opposite side at the very same, immediately to the opposite side, then I told you the answer was lateral spinothalamic tract. Okay. So the lateral fibers, let's say T5 के fiber जैसे T5 spinal segment में will then enter through the dorsal root. Then remember, they'll really in the substantia gelatinosa, and from substantia gelatinosa they will soon immediately at the same spinal segment they'll reach to the opposite funiculus, lateral funiculus, and they will ascend up as the lateral spinothalamic tract. So that means this decussation of this decussation the word nahi use karna chahiye, actually they cross to the opposite. Decussation is actually a bilateral term. Anyways, it will be a bilateral, of course, from both the sides. So they reach to the opposite side at the same level. That means जो opposite half से pain temperature आ रहे थे वो उसी level पे, the same level have they decussated, and then they ascend up like this. So that means if this is damaged, what will happen? There will be loss of pain and temperature from the opposite half of the body. Got it? So loss of pain and temperature from the opposite half of the body is one thing. Then ataxia of the same side. Then vagus, like vagus में क्या है? Vagus भी नहीं है, खाली 9th है, 10th है, 11th. All of them nuclei they are here, and what includes is nucleus ambiguous है. तो nucleus ambiguous जाएगा तो क्या होगा? There will be paralysis of the muscles of the soft palate, pharynx, larynx of the same side. Got it? So you can add up, there will be hoarseness of voice, there will be, regurgitation of fluids into the nasal cavity because of soft palate environment, there will be problem in deglutition. Okay, so these will be here also. Don't forget, यहाँ पे जो symptoms के साथ, in case they will ask you clinical type of question, they will say that person have a slurry speech, inability to speak properly. So that means यहाँ पे hypoglossal nerve nucleus के लिए directly नहीं आ सकता question. Maybe they might twist it in a clinical sign and symptoms. So you also need to know that what happens with the ipsilateral paralysis of the tongue that I've already taught you. Similarly, what happens if there is ipsilateral paralysis of soft palate, larynx, and pharynx? That also has been taught to you. That's why I keep saying that revise your cranial nerves once again. This will help you further. So this is all, the muscles derived from 3rd, 4th, and 6th brachial arches. They will all be paralyzed on the same side. Okay, then what happens is here you can see is spinal tract of trigeminal nerve. Now, spinal tract of trigeminal nerve, let me tell you, this is for the sensations from the trigeminal nerve, and basically, and trigeminal nerve brings in sensation from the entire face and neck anteriorly, except posterior portion by the spinal nerve, cervical nerves. So sensations from the face will be lost on the ipsilateral side. Remember this. Okay? So sensory loss on the same side will be there. And now about this vestibular nucleus. So if vestibular nucleus, dorsal and ventral and medial and dorsal vestibular nucleus, these are the nucleus from the vestibular nerve. If this is like damaged, what will happen? There will be, उसे क्या कहते हैं? You'll feel dizziness, right? So because of this, you'll find dizziness or giddiness because of vestibular nerve damage. And of course, the cochlear nerve nucleus is also there. So there will be hearing impairment on the same side. Got it? Apart from all these functions or sign damages, don't forget that the autonomic fibers from the hypothalamus, they are also descending down, right? Because either for the parasympathetic outflow or for the sympathetic outflow. The neurons, the upper motor neurons, they are actually coming from the hypothalamus. So this tract also, which they have not mentioned here, autonomic fibers also will damage, and ultimately they are reaching down into the lower portion of the midbrain. And in case of spinal, or sorry, in case of sympathetic outflow hota hai T1 to L2, right? They are the lateral horns from where the preganglionic sympathetic fibers arise. But what is coming from, what is reaching to the lateral horn? It is the fibers from the hypothalamus. So those fibers also will be damaged, right? So uski wajah se what will happen is there will be sympathetic loss also, especially to the fibers reaching to the cervical segments. And that will lead to Horner's syndrome. So don't forget कि lateral medullary syndrome में भी Horner's syndrome होता है. Horner's syndrome कई जगह पूछा जा चुका है, क्लम केस में भी पूछते हैं, ठीक है. So these are the different clinical signs symptoms you should remember regarding the lateral medullary syndrome, Wallenberg's syndrome. Okay, I believe you've understood. If still you've not understood, you can go through the previous lectures and understand it.
Sir,
bolo.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Bolo.
Sir, जैसे स्पाइनल कॉर्ड में एंटीरियर स्पाइनल आर्टरी 2/3 सप्लाई करती है, यहाँ एंटीरियर स्पाइनल आर्टरी 1/3 सप्लाई करती है ना?
द इंटायर थिकनेस, लेकिन 1/3 तो कर रही है, लेकिन इंटायर थिकनेस कर रही है.
नहीं सर, अगर ऑप्शंस आते हैं कि here in midbrain,
it is not anterior 1/3, it is the medial 1/3.
Medial 1/3.
Oh. Change. You can see in the diagram, it's the medial 1/3 of the entire thickness.
Okay, sir.
है ना? स्पाइनल कॉर्ड में क्या था? एंटीरियर 2/3 ऑफ द एंटीरियर 2/3 था. यहाँ पे बात हो रही है मीडियल 1/3 ऑफ द इंटायर थिकनेस. ठीक है. एंड दिस इज बाय पोस्टीरियर इंफीरियर सेरिबेलर आर्टरीज. ओके,
गॉट इट सर.
ओके. एंड व्हाट आर यू सीइंग दीस थिंग्स? ये क्या है? मैंने बताया था ना,
inferior medullary.
Very good. So these are the edges of infromedial, infrolateral, popliteal fossa की boundaries बताई थी, उसी तरह से याद रखना. So these are the inferior medullary vellum from both the side, forming the edges of the lower portion of the fourth ventricle. Good. So this is done. And what else remains here in clinical and applied portion of medulla oblongata? Medial medullary syndrome, Dejerine syndrome has been done. Lateral medullary syndrome, Wallenberg syndrome has been done. Rest remains is injury to the lower part of the medulla oblongata. Very, very much understood and very important. I told you it leads to death. Simple.
Yes sir. Respiratory and cardiovascular.
इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा सोचना नहीं. Injury to lower part of medulla oblongata is very vulnerable. Very vital centers are there. Vasomotor center controls the pulse rate, BP, and cardio.
Judicial hanging,
heart rate as well as the respiratory centers control the respiration. So all these vital centers are, and that's why capital punishment में जो death होती है hanging से, that is because.
Yes sir, judicial hanging.
Okay. ठीक है. अभी तुम म्यूट कर लो अपने आप को, क्योंकि हम अभी दूसरों को भी पढ़ा रहे हैं. नेक्स्ट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज बल्बर पाल्सी. नाउ लेट मी टेल यू अबाउट बल्बर पाल्सी. ये वर्ड बहुत यूज होता है आगे भी, community medicine, pediatrics and everywhere. जो if there is, this is actually bulbar palsy, we are related to the lower motor neuron paralysis. First of all, this should be clear. And this is actually injury to the nucleus of the 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th cranial, and 7th and 9th, 10th and 11th and 12th cranial nerves, right? तो जितनी भी efferent nuclei हैं, because efferent nuclei ही में तो lower motor neurons होते हैं, right? तो 7th, 9th, 10th, 9th में सिर्फ एक ही है, that is stylopharyngeus. 7th, 9th, 10th, 12th nuclei, if they are infected, if they're damaged, if there is a lesion, there is, impaired impulses reaching in, there is loss of innervation in the lower motor neurons and the supplied muscles therein. Got it? So bulbar paralysis means that includes Bell's palsy also, but it might be related to any other nucleus. And remember, bulbar palsy is related to the poliomyelitis also, because वहां पे भी लोअर मोटर न्यूरॉन्स होते हैं, बट वो स्पाइनल न्यूक्लियस होते हैं एंटीरियर हॉर्न से. यहाँ पे भी ये टॉकिंग इज अबाउट द बल्बर पाल्सी, मींस द ब्रेन स्टेम में जो न्यूक्लियाई हैं 7, 9, 10 एंड 12, 11, 12 न्यूक्लियाई थे. नाउ सूडो बल्बर पाल्सी में क्या होगा? सूडो बल्बर पाल्सी में क्या होगा? अपर मोटर न्यूरॉन एंड बाइलेटरल पैरालिसिस. ये बड़ा अच्छा सा टर्म है, इसको क्लियर करते हैं. Facial nerve, if you remember, lower motor neuron paralysis leads to Bell's palsy. That you know, and that causes ipsilateral half paralysis of the same side of the face. Muscles of facial expression of lost on the same side of the face, that you already know. Now, in cases of supranuclear lesion of the facial nerve में क्या हो रहा था? Supranuclear lesion में क्या हो रहा था? Contralateral paralysis होगी, first of all, only in the lower quadrant of the opposite half of the face. The upper half of the face was spared, remember, because of the bilateral innervation. That's how you could have differentiated between the upper and lower motor neuron paralysis of the facial nerve. But why is this now pseudo paralysis? Now, if you think that supranuclear paralysis happens bilaterally, तो जो bilaterally मैंने कि any supranuclear lesion में जो upper half of the opposite side of the face was being spared, अब वो spared नहीं होएगा, because it's now a bilateral paralysis, right? So bilateral में क्या होगा? जो spared थे fibers वो भी damage हो गए, because now it's a bilateral injury. So if there is a bilateral lower motor neuron injury or bilateral upper motor neuron injury that mimics, because you don't have a difference of differentiating this, because जो bilateral fibers होते हैं they are also lost. So there will be this is called pseudobulbar paralysis. And the only difference you will find in between bilateral lower motor and bilateral upper motor neuron paralysis will be the spasticity in upper motor neuron paralysis and flaccidity in the lower motor neuron paralysis. Okay, so pseudobulbar palsy means bilateral upper motor neuron paralysis. Okay, so that was all about the clinical and applied portion of medulla.